Welcome to Lecture 1, The Modular Nature of Life. And so this is the first of several chapters where we'll be getting into some of the way in which cells actually work and do the things that they do. And this particular chapter is just going to actually look at how cells are put together and not just basically from the molecular level on up. And so just kind of building on that idea that we talked about in the last section about cells being the smallest unit of life. Now, having said that, obviously the nature of life is very modular, and if you think back to probably some introductory courses that you had, the hierarchical would have been a term that was probably used back then, where you would have started at the molecular level and built your way all the way up to the biosphere, really. Each level builds in complexity and is built out of the components that are found in the previous levels. So this is what I like to call sort of the modular nature of the way life is put together, and specifically we'll be looking at examples where this is shown in cells. So a good summary of that hierarchy that we find is here, where certainly we've got the organism. So this is what we're trying to build in this course through development, and organisms are going to contain these organ systems and organs. These organ systems and organs are formed out of tissues. Tissues are combinations of different kinds of cells that work together to carry out a common function. And then of course cells are going to contain organelles and these large complexes like a ribosome or any other kinds of enzymes, metabolic pathways. All of these are made out of molecules and macromolecules. So macromolecules, of course, are combinations of some type of a building block. We'll talk about that in here in a second. For this course, we'll focus primarily on the nucleic acids, DNA and RNA, and proteins, but there will obviously be times where the lipids and the carbohydrates are also going to be important. And then, of course, the molecules themselves are what is essentially the working unit of the cell. And those, of course, are made out of atoms. We're not going to really go back this far, but certainly I think having some knowledge of that would be beneficial to you as you think about molecules being, or atoms and molecules being polar, non-polar. What kind of bonds do they like to participate in? All of those kinds of things are going to affect the way in which they function and where you might find them and how they work in those locations. We will, in this course, focus on, like I said, those macromolecules. We'll also focus on some organelles. In this chapter, I will introduce you to several that are very critical for development. And then for the last part of the course, we will actually build some tissues and organs and show how the body itself comes into being from some of these developmental processes that we will discuss early on. The neat thing about this way of building life is that it's very versatile. It allows you to do a lot of different things and do so in a fairly energy efficient way and fairly resource efficient way. The complex structure is generally going to be built out of something smaller, like a building block, what we might call a subunit. So if you think about something like a protein is built out of amino acids as its subunits, a tissue built out of subunits of cells, and other extracellular components that go into that. The ability to do this is going to provide several advantages to the cell and the organism, and it opens up a lot of possibilities functionally for that cell as well. So as we move our way through, what we're going to do right now is transition over to these advantages. I'm going to put those in a separate lecture here in a second. Later on, we'll talk about this monomer being assembled into multimeric structures as we talk about those macromolecules and those organelles, and then of course some overall aspects of cells themselves as we build tissues out of them. And that'll really be the structural component of this course. as a cell biology course is looking at cells at this level. Okay, so next time we will discuss advantages 1 and 2, and then after that we'll do advantages 3 and 4. See you then.